Hello! Today we're going to be looking at making a simple construction paper weaving loom. You'll need some 1-inch construction paper multicolor strips, a regular 9x12 sheet of construction paper, a ruler, and a pencil with an eraser. So first we're going to start with our piece of paper. You can fold this either direction when making this project. I prefer to close it like a book. I like to have a nice lined up corner over here. And then I'm going to hold it with my fingers, push down on this side, and then I can sort of slide my fingers along the same way to get that nice crease so that it's straight. Then I'm going to take my ruler or any straight edge that has some width to it. And the first thing I'm going to do on the side where the paper opens, up here, where the mouth of the paper is, I'm going to line up the edge of my ruler with that top side, and then I'm going to draw a line down the back. This line tells me where to stop the vertical lines that I'm putting in. So my horizontal line will stop my vertical lines. Then I'm going to do the same thing going vertically on my paper. I'm going to line up the edge and draw a line. Now you could measure these out and make them some smaller, some thicker. I find it's a lot easier if you're doing this for the first time with younger kids. If you just simply keep lining up the edge of the ruler with the last line and drawing it on the other side. This is still a good size to weave with, not too small, not too big, and you can get a nice even spacing across. Now I don't have to do both sides, I only need to do this front side, and then I need a pair of scissors. I picked up 2 pairs of scissors from our scissor station. You could use a pair of straight edge scissors, or you could use a pair of scissors that have the fancy cuts in them. Both will work the same. One's a little easier to cut with than the other one, and you could even switch back and forth a little bit. I could choose to cut with the flat scissors first, and then I could switch over and cut with the decorative scissors. Now when you cut with decorative scissors, when you open them and close them, you want to make sure they're lining back up to match that pattern that's in here. You don't want that pattern to get off because it'll start looking pretty messy. I'm careful each time to line up that first slot so it matches what snipped last. And remember, we always have to stop at our horizontal line up here at the top, don't we? So now I want to be careful when I open this. Sometimes the papers where you cut them like to stick together, and you don't want to rip them. And then you want to gently go back through and pop those folds back a little flat, because we are working with a flat surface. Now you can still see my lines where I was drawing them. If you don't want to see your lines when you're weaving, just flip your paper over to the other side and those lines disappear. Then you're going to need an assortment of weaving bands. These ones are just cut out of construction paper. So I'm going to pick my first one. When we do weaving, we want it to show in every other strip. So I'm going to go under this one and then over my next one. Under the paper, over the paper, under the paper, over the paper, under the paper. And then I want to center it a little bit and push it up as far to the top as it will go, kind of like that. Okay. Now when I go to weave my next strip of paper, I don't want it to match. I want it to be the opposite. So if this one's on top, that means I have to start the next one underneath and then have it go over. You want to make it look like a chessboard or a checkers board. Gives it that nice tiling look. And I'm still going over, under, over, under, over, and then straighten it up. Push it up against my other pink area up here. And now you can see it gives it that nice pattern where it's on a diagonal. That's what we want. We don't want them to match. If they match, they all just slide to the bottom together. I'm going to keep going over, under, and switching. So this one was over, this one was under. That means this one needs to be over. So I'm going to go over the paper, under the paper, over, under. You can say it with me. Over, under, over, under, and then I want to turn it and tap it up. We're going to repeat this all the way to the end. When you get down to the end, you want to make sure you go back and tap all of these up. Sometimes they get a little loose when you're working, and you can move them back up. I put my fingers against my fingernails against the paper, and then I sort of push on both sides. And now I have just one little space left down here for one more piece. I want to make sure that piece is going to fit in each of those slots, and it is, but this is going to be a lot tighter down here at the bottom. So you'll almost have to do it where you put your fingers behind to help push up and push under. I have my finger on the back side to help move some of those little holes and make them bigger, or to push down on the tops and the bottoms. It does take a little longer for this last one, but it usually locks all of the other ones into place. And if you still find that your strips are a little loose, you can always go through and you can either wrap them around the edges and fold them, or you can put a little glue on them. Once your project's finished, you'll be able to display it beautifully someplace in your home.